On Christmas Eve, I went out for coffee beans and ran straight into my first love. 10 years vanished in a heartbeat. A wedding ring on his hand, one on mine. Weeks later, rain ticking on a windshield, he whispered, "Tell me there's a chance for us." In that breath, I had to choose between the home I built and the story I once believed was my destiny. For 10 years, I've built a life on loyalty and love. A decade devoted to one man, my husband, David. Our life isn't a fairy tale. It's better. It's real. It's the home we made together, the quiet Sunday mornings, the steady comfort of his hand, finding mine in the dark. It's the life I chose. Last night, snowy Christmas Eve, it happened. I was grabbing a last-minute bag of David's favorite coffee when I heard a voice. A voice my mind had learned to forget, but my heart knew instantly. I looked up, and the world tilted. Nathan, my first love. The boy who held my whole heart when we were 19. He was older, of course, lines at the corners of his eyes, snow glittering on a dark jacket, and yet, unmistakably him. Two ghosts, suddenly made of breath and warmth, staring at each other in a crowded coffee shop. My gaze dropped to his left hand, a wedding ring, and mine, suddenly, felt heavy as a stone. In one blink, I was split between two worlds, the steady life with David and the wild, half-finished story I'd buried. It felt like any choice would break something sacred. Life with David is good, solid, in the best way. We met in our mid-20s, both a little bruised by the world, and we built something careful and kind. Our first date was awkward, our first kiss, unsure, and then, a love that grew like an oak. No fireworks, just heat that never quits. We've been together 10 years, married 5. There's a small house and the garden David babies. A lazy golden retriever, convinced he's a lapdog, and a library of inside jokes only we would laugh at. Sundays are sacred. Pancakes, coffee, and the rustle of a newspaper. David's love isn't a bonfire. It's a pilot light that never goes out. I love him. Truly, I thought that was all I'd ever need. But before David, there was Nathan, and he wasn't a pilot light. It was lightning. We were 19 and certain we were immortal. We snuck out of our parents' houses, kissed under indifferent stars, shared a pair of headphones like it was a secret oath. He was my first, "I love you," said with my whole chest. We drew our future in the margins of college textbooks, until life redrew it for us. His dad took a job across the country. We promised letters, calls, visits. We tried, but distance is a slow poison. Fewer calls, shorter messages, no explosion, just a gradual fade to black. No final fight, no goodbye, only silence. I packed him in a mental box labeled, "Do not open," and for 10 years, I didn't open. Christmas Eve had the city sugared in light. David was at home cursing a string of tangled lights I'd sworn I'd fix. I was in line for coffee when that voice beside me said, "They're always out of the Sumatra this time of year." I knew it before I turned. "Ryan," he breathed, and my name in his mouth knocked the wind out of me. "Nathan," I managed. "What are you doing here?" "Home for the holidays," he said, and his eyes fell to my ring. I followed his gaze to his, married. We did the careful small talk of strangers, except we weren't strangers, and that made every word land harder. As we were leaving, he hesitated. "Grab a coffee sometime. Actually catch up." Against everything rational in me, I heard myself say, "Yeah, I'd like that." It was supposed to be 30 minutes. It became 3 hours. We compared jobs and cities and husbands. His, Mark, an architect. Mine, David, keeper of the garden, and our sleepy dog. We traced the outlines of the lives we built without each other. Then a memory slipped in: a concert, rain, our laughter, and the floodgates gave way. For a while we weren't two married men. We were 19 again, finishing each other's sentences. The current was still there, humming like a wire you're not supposed to touch. When he looked at me, I felt seen in a way I hadn't realized I missed. I went home buzzing and ashamed. When David kissed me at the door, I flinched. Guilt sat like a stone in my stomach. I lied for the first time in our marriage, said I was tired, and listened to his breathing in the dark like a metronome. I suddenly couldn't keep time too. Days later, a text. "It was really good to see you, Ryan." We started texting, then walks. He said his marriage was complicated, that he loved Mark, and still, something had been missing. "Seeing you," Nathan said softly, made me notice the empty spaces. Every message I deleted, every excuse I made to David, was another thread in a web I didn't want to admit I was spinning. We never crossed a physical line, but the emotional one? We were far past it, holding hands with words, building a secret room with our memories, and slipping inside whenever we could. A couple of weeks after Christmas, it all collided. Rain on the windshield, a deserted lakefront, the wipers keeping time like a countdown. Nathan turned toward me, dashboard light, catching the old softness in his face. "I'm not happy," he said, voice stripped of pretense. "I think I made a mistake 10 years ago. I should have fought for you. I still love you, Ryan, and I know you feel it too." His hand hovered over mine. "Tell me I'm crazy. Tell me to leave, or tell me there's a chance." It wasn't a question. It was a doorway. Path A, Nathan, terrifying and electric. The resurrection of a love I thought was dead. Path B, David, my husband, our home, the slow, faithful warmth of a life we made on purpose. Choosing Nathan meant burning down what David and I built. Choosing David meant letting Nathan go again, and this time on purpose. My heart was screaming Nathan's name. My soul was whispering David's. I pulled my hand back. The hardest words I've ever spoken fell out of me. "I can't." Tears gathered. "His mine. I love him," I said. "My life is with him. This us, it's a beautiful ghost, but it's a ghost." Driving home felt like a funeral for a version of me I'd carried too long. David was asleep on the sofa, TV murmuring, face soft and trusting. I knew then I wouldn't build our future on secrets. I woke him and told the truth. All of it. The coffees, the texts, the ache. I watched the hurt bloom in his eyes, then the anger, then the silence. It was the hardest conversation of my life. After days of tight jaws and slammed doors, he finally said, "I don't want to lose you, but we have to fix this together." Not magic forgiveness, a beginning, therapy. Ugly honesty, small repairs, learning to grieve the past without sacrificing the present. It's been 6 months. Things aren't perfect. Some days a song or a street or a smell pulls me back, and my chest twinges with an old, phantom ache. Some mornings I catch a shadow in David's eyes and it breaks me, but we are rebuilding, brick by careful brick. We still do pancakes on Sundays. I grind the coffee he loves, and he flicks on the little string of lights over the kitchen window, our quiet way of keeping a bit of Christmas lit all year. He reaches for my hand, and I meet him halfway. That pilot light, still burning. I made an impossible choice, and I chose my husband. I chose the life we've tended, the garden we planted, the home we keep warm, together. There will always be a 19-year-old version of me standing in the rain with a first love, wondering. But the man I am now is standing in a kitchen that smells like cinnamon and coffee, holding the hand that holds mine back. What about you? Would you choose loyalty and the life you've built, or risk it all for a second chance at first love? Tell me in the comments. I want to hear your heart on this. And if you'd like more, I've shared other long-form audio stories in my Ko-fi library. Each one carries its own secrets and choices. Maybe one of them will stay with you long after the last line.
Please leave a light on for Christmas, for all who spend it on their own. Please can finally find a home. Please keep your hopes up for Christmas, that maybe all the firing will cease. Please keep your hopes up for Christmas, that maybe this whole world can finally be at peace. I believe we can, if we just believe we can. And I believe we must find a way to build some trust. And you know I'm sure, if we just walk through